Most wine coolers do one thing wrong. Not obviously wrong, subtly wrong. And you only find out months later when a bottle you cared about tastes like it aged in a closet. This is the EUHOMY 45 bottle wine cooler. It sits in a crowded category, sub $200 compressor fridges that promise a lot and usually deliver somewhere between half and most of it. After 3 weeks of real-world use, the picture is more interesting than the price tag suggests. The question isn't whether it keeps wine cold. Any fridge does that. The real question is, does it keep wine well? Stable temperature, low vibration, consistent humidity, the things that actually matter if you're storing bottles longer than a weekend. That answer is where things get complicated. Out of the box, it looks more expensive than it costs. The glass door is double pane and tinted, not the single sheet plastic trim look you get at the lower end of this market. The exterior is matte black, clean lines. It doesn't draw attention to itself, which is exactly what a wine cooler should do. The shelves are wire rack style, which is fine for everyday bottles. But there's a detail worth knowing. The rack spacing doesn't accommodate larger format bottles like magnums or certain burgundy shapes without pulling a shelf. That's a real limitation if your collection skews toward anything wider than a standard Bordeaux. The adjustable legs are a small but genuinely useful feature on an uneven kitchen floor or a bar cart surface. It actually makes a difference. Build quality is honest for the price. The door seal is firm, the hinges feel solid, nothing rattles. But press on the side panels and there's a little flex. This is a budget tier chassis and it doesn't pretend otherwise. Here's where it matters. The EUHOMY runs a compressor, not a thermoelectric system. That distinction is significant. Thermoelectric coolers are quiet but slow to recover temperature. A compressor holds tighter ranges and bounces back faster after the door opens. We set it to 55 degrees, the standard cellar temperature benchmark for mixed red and white storage, and tracked it over 72 hours with a wireless sensor inside the cabinet. The variant stayed within 2 degrees. That's genuinely respectable for this price range. The recovery time after opening the door several times in sequence, simulating a dinner party scenario, was around 4 minutes back to set point. Not instant, but not alarming. The temperature range runs from 40 degrees up to 61 degrees. That covers whites, sparkling rosé, lighter reds, and most medium body reds. What it doesn't cover is proper storage temperature for a full-bodied red you're aging long-term. Those want 58 to 65 to go. So if your collection is Cabernet heavy, that sealing matters. But here's the thing we didn't expect, the vibration levels. Vibration is the silent enemy of wine storage. It disturbs sediment, disrupts the slow chemical reactions happening in an aging bottle, and can flatten a wine over time. Most people buying a $150 cooler aren't thinking about vibration. We were. We placed a vibration logger on an interior shelf. The EUHOMY ran at a sustained level that was measurably low, comparable to units twice its price. The compressor design here uses a low vibration motor, and in practice, it holds up. Bottles left on the shelf for 2 weeks showed no measurable sediment disturbance. Noise-wise, it's quiet, not silent. You'll hear a faint hum when it's actively cooling. In a kitchen, it disappears entirely. In a very quiet room at night, you might notice it. Most people won't. There are 2 things worth knowing before you buy this. First, the 45 bottle claim. That number assumes every bottle is a standard 750 milliliter Bordeaux shape, loaded horizontally in perfect rows. In real use, with a typical mixed collection, some broader bottles, some standing upright, a few champagne shapes, you're looking at closer to 30 to 35 bottles. That's not unusual for the category, but it's worth recalibrating your expectations. Second, it's a single zone. That means one temperature for everything inside. The sweet spot for a mixed collection is around 54 to 57 degrees. A compromise that works reasonably well for most whites served slightly cool and most reds served at cellar temp. But if you want reds at 60 degrees and whites at 44 degrees simultaneously, this unit can't do that. You need a dual zone. For most people, a small collection, occasional hosting, wines you're drinking within a year or 2, single zone is completely fine. For serious collectors aging bottles for 5+ years, you'll feel the ceiling eventually. At this price, around $150 to $175, The two closest alternatives are the Koolatron 24-bottle compressor and the BLACK+DECKER 26 bottle. Both are legitimate options, but the EUHOMY outpaces them on raw capacity and temperature stability. The Koolatron is smaller and slightly quieter. The BLACK+DECKER has a simpler control interface that some people prefer. If your budget stretches to $250 to $300, the Ivation 24 bottle with lock or the Kalamera 15-inch offer tighter temperature control and better long-term build quality. The jump in build confidence at that tier is real. What the EUHOMY does better than almost everything in its price class is the combination of true compressor cooling, low vibration, and usable capacity in a package that doesn't look cheap. By week 3, a few smaller things became clear. The touch controls are intuitive but slightly sensitive. The temperature adjustment responds to even a glancing touch, which occasionally cause unintended changes when cleaning the panel. It's minor but noticeable. The interior LED lighting is warm and functional. More importantly, it doesn't emit UV, which matters for wine storage. Some cheaper units use cool white LEDs that can accelerate wine degradation over time. EUHOMY got this right. The auto defrost cycle runs silently. We didn't notice a single cycle in 3 weeks of use, which is exactly how it should work. One owner-reported issue worth flagging. A small percentage of buyers mentioned the unit arriving with a louder than expected compressor. EUHOMY's customer service response in those cases has been consistently fast. Replacements sent within 2 days based on multiple accounts. That track record matters when you're buying at this tier. Buy it if you're storing 25 to 35 bottles, drinking your collection within a couple of years, and want real compressor performance without spending $3. It delivers consistent cooling, low vibration, and a build quality that overperforms for the price. Skip it if you're a serious collector, aging bottles for a decade, storing large format bottles, or need independent temperature zones for reds and whites. At that point, the investment in a dual zone unit is worth it. The EUHOMY 45 bottle isn't a professional seller. It doesn't try to be. What it is the best honest answer to the question most people are actually asking. Where do I put these bottles so they're in good condition when I want to drink them? For that question, at that price, it works.